You know, they say that sometimes the people closest to you can hurt you in ways you least expect. And that's certainly how I felt the day everything spiraled out of control. For context, I had just undergone a major surgery less than a week prior, and I was forced into a limited mobility situation. My boyfriend, Jake, who's 30, was meant to be my rock during this tumultuous time. Instead, I found myself questioning if he would be the one to break me. I remember vividly the day I finally returned home from the hospital. The relief of being back in familiar surroundings was paltry compared to the reality of my condition. A few days post-surgery, and I was still battling intense pain every time I shifted in bed or tried to make my way to the bathroom. My body felt like a battleground, and every movement was a reminder of my recent trauma. I'd hoped that having Jake around would be comforting, that he'd help ease the burden of my recovery. But as the days passed, it became painfully clear that things weren't going as I envisioned. Sure, he was there physically, but emotionally, it felt like I was alone. You see, Jake had a lot on his plate, too. He was financially responsible for our bills since I couldn't work, and I understood the stress that must have brought him. But instead of communicating about our shared struggles, he appeared to pull away. I could hear him tapping away on his phone or catching up on video games, while our living room transformed into a chaotic reflection of my internal state. The mess was overwhelming. I was terrified to get up and walk around because I didn't want to trip on stray clothes or dodge dirty dishes piled high in the sink. So I didn't ask for help. Maybe it was pride, or maybe it was the belief that I shouldn't inconvenience him more than I already had. After all, who was I to ask for something when he was juggling so much? Then came the day everything went downhill. I was struggling to get dressed, the weight of my surgical recovery wrapping around me like a shroud. The pain was excruciating, and I closed my eyes, just trying to focus on getting a shirt on without losing my balance. Suddenly, I felt an unexpected grab. Jake had startled me with an advance that made my heart race. Instinctively, I screamed, the pain pulsing through my body intensified by the shock of his touch. I don't remember much after that. All I know is that my body instinctively jerked, sending a jolt of pain across my abdomen, and then I blacked out for a moment. When I came to, I felt a mix of bewilderment and fury coursing through my veins. "What the f were you thinking?" I yelled at him, the words spilling out without my permission. That's when things truly took a dark turn. His response devastated me. Instead of concern or remorse, he yelled right back, scolding me for my reaction. "You need to change your attitude," he said, and I felt my heart sink. How could he blame me for the pain? I wanted to scream again, but all I could manage was to inch my way toward the chair where I hoped to find some semblance of relief. In that moment, I felt completely desolate. I had just endured surgery. I was in a state of vulnerability, and the person who was supposed to protect me was throwing accusations instead. He said it was my fault that I was hurting and that I should wallow in it. I was shocked. How could he say something like that? For the next few hours, I lay there, this oppressive silence stretching between us. The anxiety of asking for anything else loomed large in my mind. What if he exploded again? The thought of having to ask him to help me grab my water, or maybe even assist me to the bathroom, made my skin crawl. Many times I replayed that moment in my head. I'll be honest, I felt utterly helpless, teetering on the edge of emotional collapse. I started questioning everything about our relationship. Was it always like this when times got tough? Had I missed these warning signs before, thinking that love conquers all? Suddenly, all the times I'd asked for help and had been met with annoyance echoed in my thoughts, amplifying my feelings of isolation. As the day turned to night, I found myself caught in a whirlwind of emotions: fury, sorrow, confusion. I wanted to reach out, to express how wounded I felt by his words and his actions, but fear stopped me. Would he dismiss me again? Now, as I look around at the mess we've created, I'm left questioning my stance. Am I the bad guy in this scenario for expecting my partner to treat me with compassion in a time of need? I wonder if I've misjudged the situation entirely. Was I asking too much of him when all I needed was a bit of understanding? So I'm here, feeling exposed and seeking your thoughts. Ita for reacting the way I did. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done differently? Would you have risked it all and confronted him, or would you have retreated into silence? I'm all ears for your opinions.